From the moment a 9-year-old boy from the backwater world of Tatooine stood before the Jedi High Council, one master felt a profound disturbance. It wasn't just the presence of a shadowy Sith Lord that unsettled him, nor was it the boy's unprecedented power. It was the volatile combination of the two. Yoda, the wisest of all Jedi, looked at Anakin Skywalker and saw not a guaranteed savior, but a potential for cataclysm. In today's Holocron, we are going to scrutinize the wisdom of the Grandmaster and explore how his greatest fear wasn't a hidden villain, but the unstable Chosen One himself, a fear that, in a tragic twist, may have helped create the very outcome he foresaw. When Qui-Gon Jinn presented Anakin to the Council, he spoke of prophecy, of a Chosen One destined to bring balance to the Force. The Council saw a boy with a midi-chlorian count that Qui-Gon claimed was even higher than Master Yoda's. But Yoda saw something else, something far more dangerous. He saw a heart tangled in fear. From their very first meeting, Yoda sensed great fear in Anakin, stemming from his deep attachment to his mother. He looked past the boy's incredible potential and pinpointed the emotional instability that would ultimately define his tragic destiny. Fear is the path to the dark side, Yoda stated. This was less a general axiom and more a direct, chilling application of Jedi doctrine to the child standing right before him. Anakin Skywalker was a paradox. His connection to the Force was immense, a raw, untamed river of power. But Yoda recognized that power without control is chaos. He sensed that Anakin's immense strength was dangerously intertwined with deep-seated fear and anger. Unlike most Jedi who were brought to the temple as infants and taught to detach from personal connections, Anakin had lived a life. He had a mother he loved and feared for, a past of servitude that had bred resentment, and a fierce, possessive nature. Yoda wasn't simply concerned with the boy's age. He was concerned with this emotional baggage. He saw that Anakin's fear of loss was a gaping wound. Afraid to lose her, I think, Yoda would later probe when a grown Anakin came to him with premonitions. This clinging, this attachment, was a direct violation of the Jedi Code, which taught that such feelings lead to jealousy, and ultimately, the dark side. The Council initially rejected Anakin's training, with Yoda citing the grave danger he sensed in the boy's future. It was only Qui-Gon's dying wish that led the Council to reluctantly reverse their decision. But Yoda's apprehension never faded. He agreed to the training but remained deeply concerned, saying to Obi-Wan, "The Chosen One the boy may be. Nevertheless, grave danger I fear in his training." From then on, he watched from afar as Anakin grew more powerful, yet no less consumed by his inner turmoil. Yoda's caution wasn't just a personal premonition. It seems to have set the tone for the entire Jedi Council. From the outset, Anakin was treated not as a prodigy to be nurtured, but as a risk to be managed. The Council, particularly stern masters like Mace Windu, viewed Anakin with suspicion. They saw his arrogance, his emotional outbursts, and his disregard for rules as confirmation of Yoda's initial fears. This mistrust created a toxic, self-fulfilling prophecy. Anakin was an outsider. Pulled from a life of slavery, he was dropped into the rigid, dogmatic world of the Jedi Temple. While Obi-Wan became a brother to him, the Council remained distant and judgmental. They sensed his power, but feared it, seeking to control and limit him rather than understand him. This constant scrutiny left Anakin feeling isolated and resentful. He knew he was powerful, perhaps more powerful than anyone in the Order, yet he was constantly held back. His achievements often met with cautionary warnings instead of praise. This alienation created a void that was eagerly filled by another mentor, Chancellor Palpatine. Where the Jedi offered suspicion, Palpatine offered validation. He praised Anakin's power, stroked his ego, and positioned himself as the only one who truly understood him. The Council's request for Anakin to spy on the Chancellor, a man he considered a friend, was a catastrophic miscalculation. It shattered what little trust remained, forcing Anakin to choose between his loyalty to the Jedi and his loyalty to the one figure who had consistently shown him faith. It can be argued that the Council's fear pushed Anakin directly into the arms of the enemy they failed to see. Looming over all of this was the prophecy of the Chosen One, which was already a shaky subject for the Jedi Order to begin with. While Qui-Gon embraced it with unwavering faith, Yoda approached it with deep skepticism. His long life had taught him that the future was always in motion, and that prophecies could be easily misread. He feared that the Jedi's dogmatic reliance on this ancient text was a form of hubris, blinding them to present dangers. Yoda seemed to believe the Jedi's interpretation of balance was dangerously simplistic. They assumed it meant the complete destruction of the Sith and the triumph of the light. They expected the Chosen One to be a perfect champion of their ideals. But that was not what Yoda was given. Anakin was brash, emotional, and consumed by personal attachments. He was everything that Yoda thought the Chosen One would not be. This led Yoda to openly question if the prophecy had been misread. This doubt wasn't a rejection of Anakin's power, but a rejection of the Jedi's overconfidence in their own wisdom. They were so focused on the idea of a savior that they failed to properly guide the deeply troubled young man entrusted to them. This reliance on prophecy to Yoda was not only misguided, but was a form of deep hubris. The Jedi expected a messiah, and in their blindness they overlooked the suffering soul who needed guidance more than he needed a destiny. The ultimate irony is that Yoda was right to be afraid. He correctly identified the volatile elements within Anakin, the fear, the anger, the attachment that would lead to his downfall. His famous warning, "Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering," became a perfect summation of Anakin's entire life trajectory. The tragedy is that the Order's response was to try and build a dam instead of diverting the river. When Anakin, tormented by visions of Padme's death, came to Yoda for guidance, he was met with the cold, detached dogma of the Jedi Code. "Train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose," Yoda advised. To a man whose entire emotional foundation was built on his attachments, this advice was not just unhelpful, it was impossible. It showed a fundamental lack of understanding of Anakin's struggles. The Jedi Order, with its strict rules against attachment, had no framework for helping him. They offered suppression, not emotional understanding. This failure to provide meaningful support was the final push. It convinced Anakin that the Jedi could not help him save Padme. Palpatine, on the other hand, offered a solution. Yoda's fear was realized not because he was wrong, but because the Jedi institution he led was incapable of addressing the very issues he identified. They were so afraid of Anakin's emotions that they refused to engage with them, leaving him vulnerable to the one who would exploit them without hesitation. In the end, Yoda's skepticism about Anakin was rooted in his understanding of the Force and a growing mistrust of prophecy. He saw the maelstrom of emotion within the boy, but was bound by a rigid doctrine that had no answers for such a tempest. The Council's mistrust alienated a vulnerable boy, and their dogmatic advice on his deepest fears pushed him away. Yoda's doubts foreshadowed the fall of the Jedi, serving as a quiet but tragic warning that even the most revered wisdom can be drowned out by the seductive promise of destiny. The fall of Anakin Skywalker was not just his failure, but the failure of an order that had grown too rigid and too afraid to save the one who needed them most. But of course, we want to know what your thoughts are. If you were in Yoda's position, would you have trusted the prophecy, or do you believe that it was dangerous, just as Yoda thought? Do you think that Yoda handled the situation well by never outright stating his beliefs about Anakin's destiny? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, may the Force be with you.